Hi, my name is Camille Fernhair. I'm the founder of Ignite Mr. Right. I help single successful women in how to attract a suitable partner so they can really have that loving and passionate relationship they deserve. Now, today I've got a very special guest here on the interview. His name is Mihir Thacker. I hope I pronounced his surname right. My surname is very hard to pronounce as well. And we're going to have a really great conversation around money mindset. So, welcome on the call, Mihir.
Thank you, Camille. Just happy to be here. Pleasure to be here.
Thanks so much. So, I guess if you could just tell the listeners a little bit about what you do. I know you do quite a few things. You do business mentoring as well, but because we're focusing more on the money conversation, and also what makes you so passionate about helping people in changing things around.
Sure. For me, what really makes me passionate and why I'm passionate about this is largely due to my own upbringing and my own story around it. I'm sure you have heard it from me personally, but I'm not sure a lot of your listeners have. That I grew up in a very restricted environment back in India, in Mumbai. It was 14 people in one apartment, and
Wow.
it was very close to the slums, so nearly there. So even though we were kind of like the middle class, but it was a tough upbringing. And for me to go through that environment and then day in day out question myself, that is this right, is this doesn't feel right, there's this part of us, the human heart side of it, which says to us, is this right? And for me the answer was no, and I just kept going through that life there, day in day out, day in day out. And somehow or the other, a part of me was able to kind of not get distracted by everything that was around me, which was pretty horrible. I mean, to see poverty firsthand and to experience some of those things in your own life. So for me, when I kind of kept moving forward in my life through the help of people who would miraculously show up from time to time, a part of me became like, okay, wow, there is something much deeper to it in your heart and in your mind, and there is something beautiful in being able to support others in their journey. So
Wow. So I mean, you've got such a inspiring story. I'm curious about, did you always was that a natural part of you that just always focused on, okay, well this is my, this is my environment at the moment, but I can see another way. Do you feel like that was quite unique to you when you grew up?
I think so. I always felt a little bit of like not myself in a way, because I realized later on in life that it was actually my heart that was kind of guiding me, telling me. Because at the deepest of levels, I believe in a beautiful, abundant world for everybody, not only for myself. And for me to inner vision of the world not lining up with the outer reality, I felt something is off here. But I just kept trusting that part in me. Right? It just said, okay, something is off. It doesn't feel right. Humans are not supposed to live this way. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing, we caught up for coffee the other day and we had a bit of a conversation around, the interesting thing is that even though we in Australia most people have quite comfortable lives, people still tend to have a lot of stuff around money and a lot of fear about not being safe in the world. And can you share a little bit about what your take is on that? Like, even that it doesn't necessarily have to do with how much money people have, but their relationship with
Exactly.
money.
Exactly. Like I've lived in few countries worldwide, and I've visited many places on this planet. And anywhere you go, you will always find a wide spectrum. People are always the same in many ways, right? There will always be
Mm,
people who are broke, and at the bottom, there will always be people who are at the top in any country. It doesn't matter where you go.
mm,
So it's a human experience, it's a human thing. And essentially how we relate, how our identity is around our relationship with money, and more importantly, I'm going to go deeply a little bit in a moment into our family system as to how
mm.
our upbringing is, how our relationship is with our parents as well, has such a big impact in the game that we decide to play. So it is largely
Absolutely.
universal because for me, even though I ended up moving out of that situation in India and moved to America, a part of me was still actually recreating the same thing in an American setting, and it was
Tell us a little bit more about that. Like, how did that sort of play out?
well, I had full scholarship to be able to go to America. I had a great job, had a great life, was basically living the dream life. But a part of me was creating everything that I wanted and in a way sabotaging it and bringing it back to ground. Because behind the
Mm.
scenes, there was a lot of guilt about, oh, how can I be so successful when my family back home is struggling with so much of it, right? And so over and over, I saw that theme repeated even when I moved to Australia a while ago. I'm like, okay, why am I doing this? It was like, somebody's knocking on saying that you might want to pause and have a look at this and really see what's going on here. So that's when I started discovering the work of Bert Hellinger and the family dynamic side of it, and started seeing things for what they were. That, oh wow, my need to belong so deeply with my family of origin was playing so powerfully in my relationships, which is where you have such a big impact with the people that you work with, in my relationships and also in my sense of well-being. So it's a bit of a double whammy when both those things are going a bit haywire. Yeah, so there
Definitely.
isn't any room at that point to feel good about yourself in any way at that point. So for me, those were the kind of wake-up calls that made me pause and have a look at it, and those were the
And
turning points.
with your clients now, do you feel like it's a very similar it, there's a really similar pattern with so many people, and until they really have awareness of why it's happening, they keep on repeating the same pattern again and again?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because the first thing that I do when I work with, even in a business setting, I start working with them on their family side of it, on their relationship, on how they relate to the family, right? Essentially, if that part is not fixed, if that part is not absolutely honored and properly taken care of, no matter how many good business strategies or business ideas you come up with, you're gonna drive it to the ground. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's what we do. And it's not about, because there's this large body of work out there that is talking about, bust your belief and breakthrough, and to me, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Because as long as we change the relationship of who you are and how you stand in relation to your family, you are going to show up as that person in every aspect of your life, including your relationships and your business, right?
It's very true, and it's definitely been my experience as well. And I guess even if it doesn't feel good to create success and there is a conflict, you might create all these great things, but part of you won't be able to actually enjoy it
Right, and that
unless you've healed that relationship
exactly,
with family.
exactly. As you know, I mean, from a human behavioral point of view, there are two things that we look for: safety and belonging. Right? If we don't feel that safety and belonging in our family of origin or wherever we are, we will always try to recreate that same situation over and over again. Right?
It's fascinating, and of course it's all runs on an unconscious level, so it's very powerful.
It's deeply unconscious, and but once you change it, you can still have the experience of belonging to your family, which you always will, but at the same time having an experience of success and abundance beyond anything that you have ever experienced in your life. And for me personally, my
Beautiful.
own life is actually a testimony to that, of how it has come about. This does not
And
take
you,
away
you
from you doing the right business strategies, but it requires you to also be okay in that part of your world, in the inner side of your experience with life.
Absolutely. And you run a 3-day. Actually, before I get to that, I did have another question around. Again, we it came up when we caught up the other day around the relationship with money and love. Since I'm mainly helping the single women with attracting a suitable partner, how that's influenced by a parent of either the mother or the father. So can you share a little bit more around how that's influenced our relationship with money and our relationship with relationships or love?
Sure, sure. I think in general, uh, from the works that has been done by Bert Hellinger and the large body of work that exists in the psychotherapy side of it, and again, I'm not a certified expert in that, but from what I've seen repeatedly in my clients, is that when it comes to money, it tends to have a bit more of a masculine energy to it. Right. So if for a moment, if we just look at the energetic side of it, it's the masculine side of it, which people normally equate to the relationship with the father. Okay.
Yes, that makes sense.
Right. Similarly, when it comes to relationships, there is a feminine energy to it, which most people equate it to the mother side of it. So in general, when I hear clients talk about, oh, they feel unfulfilled, things are not complete, etc., those type of conversations, they somehow hint me to the direction of how is the relationship that this person has with their mother. So when it comes to relationships in general, what is valuable to look at, again, this is not necessarily 100% accurate, but it is valuable to look at, is what was the upbringing and what is it about their relationship with the mother that was left unfinished? Or what is it that the child is trying to take over from the mother so as to complete it in her life? And
Absolutely.
yeah, because I saw that quite strongly in my own life, where I was trying to take on both sides of the stories, in relationship with my father and his tough upbringing, and in relationship with my mother, who had challenges with her relationship as well. So it was a combination of things, and it's a bit of a double whammy to live your life in that space.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I remember we had an amazing coaching session. I don't know if you remember, quite a few months ago, where my beliefs around money, like my dad's side, was very much about you can have anything, and you're my little princess, and life should be easy. And where my mother's sort of the message was very much about you should work hard, and so I had two different very conflicting messages. So
Exactly.
that, and I'm sure a lot of people have that, and that unless that's really clear, there's that constant conflict.
Yeah, it's like the best that a child can do so as to be okay with both mom and dad is to keep perpetuating both sides and stay in conflict.
Mm.
That's the worst punishment that the child can take on themselves, right? It's out of love essentially at the end of the day. But yeah, you're right. I think I remember.
It doesn't serve. It
It
doesn't
doesn't
serve
serve in the
anyone.
long run. Yes, it doesn't
No,
serve anybody.
exactly. So you really help people on a deeper level with all of the things that we've talked about, and especially in the 3-day the Money Experience System workshop, which is coming up in Melbourne in September. So I'm curious, who is it for?
It is for heart-centered coaches, entrepreneurs, small business owners, practitioners, experts, and essentially anyone who's interested in furthering their business to the next level. Because as I mentioned earlier, that working on just on your business, even with the best of strategies, it'll take you a little bit far, but it's not going to take you too far unless you start really resolving your relationship and your identity around money. So the workshop is 3 days. It's designed specifically for people who are heart-centered and have a sense of contribution, that they do want to create greater value in this world and at the same time be amazingly successful themselves. So because I believe in that myself, how can I support others when I'm myself not feeling that level of success? So it's,
So it can be that win-win. It can
yeah,
be
of
that win.
course, of course, it has to be a win-win, because otherwise it just energetically doesn't work, right? You give,
Exactly.
yeah, you just give and you don't get anything, or you just receive when you don't give back. It's not sustainable. So
Mm.
it's for people who want to revise their relationship with money, and also have some form of a vehicle that they already have, so that they can take that and use all the business strategies as well that we will be sharing there, and apply it in their business. So it's a
Fantastic. So it's
three
got that
day. It's a 3 day. It's not an event where you're going to take notes, but it's a transformative event where you sit in, where you actually participate in your own changes pretty powerfully. And this is something that I've applied repeatedly with my own clients. So you're going to get the best essence of everything in that.
And because it's a group environment, it does make it more powerful as well, because I guess everyone is in the same boat, and everyone really has the same intention.
It does make a difference, and at the same time, it is so peaceful and quiet. It's none of those rah 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 style of workshops, right? It's a
Right.
very safe. It's a very intimate, very safe environment, and it is essentially there to foster your relationship with you and parts of you that you are not in rapport with at this point, right? So
Sounds brilliant.
yeah, it is, and it's an invitation only program. So there is a pre-selection process that we go through as to who is and isn't a good fit for it.
Perfect. So on that note, if that really resonates with anyone who's listening, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Sure. Yeah, they can go to my website and look at this link. My website is Mihir Thakur. It's mihirthaker.com.au/workshop. So I'm sure you'll be sharing the link as well through the video. So
Definitely.
yes, essentially they can get
Absolutely.
in touch with you or they can connect with me, and we'll be more than happy to connect.
Beautiful. It sounds absolutely amazing, and I mean I've experienced your work firsthand. So you definitely, you know your stuff, and it's very powerful.
Thank you.
So I guess before we wrap up, is there anything else, like some last pearls of wisdom that you'd like to share with anyone who's really struggling with creating wealth in their lives, or struggling with anything, in regards to abundance?
Sure, sure. I think we can also extend that question to people who are struggling in relationships as well at some level, right?
Sure.
I think for me, the best thing that anyone can do, there are a few things people normally do when things are stuck, right? They have this push type of energy about it, that they don't want to go there, they don't want to go there, right? Because a part of them thinks that if they do accept whatever the status quo is, part of them is not going to survive that experience, right?
Right.
And that's where really the secret of changing your stuck position is. Just sometimes surrendering and fully, completely accepting and appreciating what you have deeply enough. Even though it may not be the best yet, but just sitting in a space of, okay, this is what it is what it is. I'm just going to fully allow it to go through. Right? Because energetically, a part of us just keeps pushing that energy that wants to flow through us and be out of it.
Pushing it down.
Yeah, yeah. So just letting it just flow through and then saying, okay, I'm just surrendering and allowing that and seeing things for what they are. Because then your system automatically says, okay, I went through that. And it's like, going to the dentist, right? The thought of going to the dentist is much worse than the actual process sometimes. Right?
Exactly.
So sometimes just allowing yourself to experience that okayness about everything that you are experiencing, even if it's a negative situation, feeling the emotions, allowing you to say, okay, I'm feeling that, fully breathing that through, that's when it starts to shift and move slowly.
Beautiful. I guess it does take courage to do that sometimes, but there is a real sense of, oh, I can just relax now. So there's a letting go of the constant struggle when you allow yourself to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I think, look, here's the thing I would say, because there's a lot of stuff out there which talks about breaking your belief and pushing yourself and all that. It has some value, but it doesn't work in the long run,
No, it
right?
doesn't.
I think sometimes even when you feel that you have to be okay with something, but a part of you says, no, I'm not okay with that. Even saying I'm not okay with being okay with that is actually a good start. So,
Exactly.
right, wherever you are, start with where you are. I mean, that's what my life was about. As I said earlier, when growing up, I didn't have too many resources, but start with wherever you are with what you got. If in your current life, if you are feeling, that person says I have to be okay with it, but I don't really honestly feel I have to be okay with it, then tell yourself, I'm okay with not being okay with it. Right? Just allow,
Beautiful.
because that's when you are fully present to everything that's going on with you. And that's a good start. So it doesn't necessarily require courage. It just requires authenticity to accept, to say, okay, with wherever I am.
Yeah. So it's really just about that presence
That
of,
presence, that's
okay,
it. Yeah. And even
and
if
then the
it's
next
negative,
step.
and then the next step, automatically our system has a way of unraveling the next step.
Beautiful message. Yeah, that's a really great way for us to end. So I guess it is really about, okay, well, let's say your life's a mess at the moment, your finances are a mess, you're single, and let's start with that. And then that's when change can really happen.
Exactly. Just start with where you are.
Great message. Thank you so much for this interview. It's been really, really insightful.
Thanks, Camille. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.